The Bug TV. We're just tickled to death to be here, especially after going through all those hazards that we went through last week, in order to make it back to La Polly. I'm just real pleased to be here. It's kind of like the mail department, through rain, snow, sleet, fire, or ice. We made it back.
Well, the mailman don't set the road on fire.
Well, he don't move fast enough, you know. Did you hear about the mail people going on a hunger strike?
No.
Yeah, they're going on a hunger strike to protest the budget cuts. You know, they don't, there wasn't but, what, $14 billion in the hole last year?
I guess.
I think somewhere around $14 billion in the hole, you know, and they don't seem to think that they ought to take any budget cuts or do any streamlining or do any changes in order to get the mail system back to where the cost of it is manageable.
Well, what kind of hunger strike they going on?
They got a bunch of them that are just going on a hunger strike to emphasize the need not to make any budget cuts. 4-day hunger strike.
Just 4 days? Well, they could, you know, maybe cut them guys off.
Yeah, that would help.
And maybe when they got over their hunger strike, they'd want to go back to work.
Right. It's about like when I went to North Carolina last week. I was in Burlington, North Carolina, and I can remember in must have been 1956, 57, somewhere along in there, maybe a little bit before that. They had a big Western Electric plant there in Burlington, North Carolina. And they made more money than anybody else in the community. Good pay structure, good Western Electric is what it was, not General Electric. So
they made telephones, didn't they?
Yeah. So they decided that they would go on a strike. That's some 40 years ago, and some of them boys are still working at the service station. They never got their job back. And I don't think it was a case of union busting. I think it was just a case of the union there making somewhat unreasonable demands upon the company. And so they laid them off, never let them back, locked them out, never let them go back to work there.
Well,
I passed that plant. Of course, it's closed now. They kept it open during the strike period, but it's since closed. It's a big old vacant building.
There used to be coal mining here. Of course, there wouldn't be now because of the EPA and Lamar Alexander and his crew. But Lake City used to be called Coal Creek, and it was a money source. I know some of the originally some of the working conditions down there were not that great in some cases. They were not as bad as they were in other industries, but you worked in the country, for the company, you lived in the company house, you got paid in company money, and you had to trade at the company store in some situations, and that wasn't right. And there was changes needed to be made, and the union had a purpose, and it served its purpose. And then they put the coal mines out of business.
Right. Yeah.
And Lake City it's never recovered. It was a thriving place with loads of money at one time. It ain't now.
Right.
It never will be again, I don't think. But now they had to set up. The unions got to set up something like Obamacare. They had these here hospitals in different places, and if you were a member of the union, you got free hospital care as long as you just went to the hospital and stay as long as you want to. And people would go visit relatives in another town or another state, and they'd go. Old man working to the mine would go check in the hospital, and they'd just live there in that hospital room for a week while they visited their relatives.
Right.
And then they'd come back.
Right.
Well, they rode that good horse to death.
Right. Well, that's what usually happens, you know. Things are abused, and I know my dad was in the railroad union, Brotherhood of Railroad Workers, from 1914 he left. Then he came back in 1919 and went back with the Southern Railway and was a member of the Brotherhood of Railroad Workers from 1919 until he retired somewhere around 1967, I believe, somewhere right around there. And if it had not been for the union that my dad belonged to, I'm sure during the Great Depression that we would not have fared as well as we did, because he had seniority, and if somebody took his job, then he would take somebody else's job who had less seniority, which that worked out very, very well. But then, you know,
unless you were a junior partner,
right? Unless you were a low man on the totem pole. But see, I remember the railroads very, very well, using all steam engines. I can remember them.
They had already invented them when you was a boy?
Yeah, I can remember them using some horses to transport some freight. This was in the late 30s and early 40s. And then they went to those old high-wheel trucks for local delivery. You know, they had no delivery as far as going out in the country or out in the city. They did some city delivery. But when they switched from the steam engines to the diesel-powered, the labor unions made them keep a fireman on that train. And back then, the fireman was making $500 to $600 a week.
Well, and they call feather bedding.
Yeah.
They carried that on into the unions. The railroads didn't get to do away with the firemen until the late 60s, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And then they finally, they got rid of. Have they got rid of conductors or just cabooses?
Well, then they had problems getting rid of conductors, you know, and especially when they cut back the number of passenger trains. And I've been up on those railroad tracks many a time as a young man, and heard that porter say, "All aboard!" You know, and that old steam engine be sitting there puffing like it was straining at the bits to take off down the tracks. I mean, they were massive steam engines. You can go, if you've been to the ones down Chattanooga, okay, they've got some of them down there, just like I've been right in the cab on those things, because we lived 8 miles from town, and there's a little old depot out there, and when we were riding the trains, they'd let me get up in the...
let you blow the horn?
Yeah, well, yeah, I do that, and then they'd stop and let us off there at that little old station about 8 miles out of town. And so I have really seen a transition in rail freight. And here you can still move freight so much cheaper by rail than you can by road. And I think they move a big truck up and down the track from one destination to the other at about 3 cents a mile. Okay, now you know what those trucks, when they hit the road, what they cost. A lot more than 3 cents a mile.
They cost 4 or 5 cents.
I bet, yeah, I wish it's 4 or 5 cents.
And when they set the road on fire, it gets even more expensive.
That's true. I do want to mention one thing, kind of we're not on any particular subject, but probably all of you are aware that Andy Griffith died this morning, I think. And
him and Barney can argue now.
No, they can't argue now. But Andy went to graduate school while I was in undergraduate school at the University of North Carolina. He had graduated from the University of North Carolina, and he had gone down to Morehead City, going out from Morehead City there, and took a role as Sir Walter Raleigh in the
Roanoke Colony?
The
Roanoke Colony?
Well, yeah, but this was called what was it called? The Lost Colony is what they called it. Yeah. And he had played Sir Walter Raleigh down there 4 or 5 years. Then he came back to graduate school at the University of North Carolina about probably 1952, 51, 52, or something like that. And I entered the University of North Carolina in 1953. And I went to work for a restaurant that was located real close to the radio and television school of radio and television, broadcasting, whatever you want to call it. That was where Andy was getting his doctor's degree in radio.
You got a doctorate?
I don't know whether he ever got it or not, but that's what he's doing, taking graduate courses. And this little restaurant that I ate at, or worked at, had delicious food, good prices, dedicated to the community and to the college. And in fact, probably nowhere else in the world would a freshman or a sophomore come into a restaurant situation and be allowed to run that operation by himself, you know, as the chief honcho during certain parts of the day.
They must have been hard up for help.
No, everybody wanted to work at that restaurant. They really did. And they had some black waiters who were full-time, and they always kept, they had 3 black waiters full-time. They always kept 4 college students as waiters. And then they also had a couple of college students as bus boys. And they didn't have any college students in the kitchen. There was all permanent help there. But Andy Griffith loved to eat at that restaurant. Now, probably one of the reasons he did not eat there every day is that even though it was an economical restaurant, it was much more expensive than the school cafeteria. So at least once, maybe twice a week, Andy Griffith would come to that restaurant and eat. In most instances, the full-time help got first pickings of what come through that door, because they had it set up. They knew what was going to come in, where to seat them, and that sort of thing. You had your own tables. I went to work there, and I'd work from 11 to 2. That's when the restaurant was open. They were just right at 11 on the dot, because they usually had a 10 to 11 class. So I had to dart out there and make a dead run to it to get to the restaurant to be there by 11. And I would work till 2 o'clock. The restaurant would close up and reopen at 5 o'clock. So it usually takes you to 2:30, 3 o'clock to get cleaned up. Well, rather than going back to my room, which incidentally, the room that I had at that time was right out the back door of the lady that wrote A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, Betty Smith. And Betty, I was out her back door. She wasn't out my back door. I was living in a little one room in the basement of a house, and her house was across a white picket fence and a big pretty yard, and then that was her yard. She had a little gazebo out back that she and some of her friends would get together in the afternoon. But I worked there, and rather than me going all the way back to the room and studying and then coming back at 5 o'clock to work, I stayed in the restaurant after we closed. and I would study. I'd get in one of those booths that had air conditioning when it was warm, and had good heat when it was cold, and I wouldn't have to go out on the street, and I'd stay there and study. Andy Griffin and his group loved to come into the restaurant right at closing time.
Mm-hmm.
Because then they could have the whole place to themselves. They usually was about 6 of them, and there wasn't but one set of tables that would accommodate all 6 of them, and they were not my tables when the restaurant was open. But hardly any of the regular help wanted to stay over after it was closed. So they left right at 2 o'clock. Andy Griffin would come in with his group of guitar pickers and that sort of thing, and I would wait on them, and they would stay in there from when we closed at 2 o'clock till we almost got ready to open back up at 5 o'clock. And they sat there and they loved to eat spaghetti, the Parker House rolls that they made, and drank beer. And I would wait on them. And back then you could serve beer and drink beer at age 18, you know, they hadn't changed to 21. And so I would wait on Andy Griffith and his bunch, maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. And the reason I was real anxious to wait on him was not because he was a celebrity at that time, but they would leave me a $5 tip, which was, you know, a lot of people didn't make a whole lot of money all day long.
I bet there was people working $5 a day.
Oh, sure there was.
Plenty of them.
And this was in like
Well, I know there was.
1953, and I'd get $5 tip off of them, plus, well, with all the tips I made, I was clearing about $300 a week. Going to school and clearing $300 a week. I had more money to throw away and spend the way I wanted to while I was in college than I've ever had since I got out. Well, I'd wait on Andy, and one of the things that we had to do, Andy Griffin loved to wear khaki shorts, go barefooted around campus, and no shorts and no shirt.
No way he went barefooted.
He's a country boy.
I know, but I never could. I'm a country boy
I
too.
went barefoot all my life. I mean, I walked across red hot asphalt roads or walk across wires.
I never was a barefooted sort of feller. Back when I was a
Andy
kid,
loved to go barefooted, wearing nothing but his khaki shorts. And Andy was a well-built. He was a big man. He's bigger than me. Yeah, he probably is 6'3", you know, something like that. Probably 220 pounder or something like that. He's a big man. Well, our restaurant required that you have a shirt and shoes on. So one of the full-time waiters come up with the idea for those people that wanted to come in that didn't have shirts and shoes, that they would keep a pair of flip-flops and a shirt there, a button-up shirt for these people to put on. And that's what we would do for Andy. He'd have to put that button-up shirt on and slip those flip-flops on. Then we would let him in, you know. And if we could have got away with it, with that $5 tip, we would have let him in anyhow, you know. But we'd dress him up, and they'd come in and eat, wearing sometimes an old shirt of mine or a pair of flip-flops of mine. So that's the way I talked to Andy. You know, I'd be back there studying everything and say, "Hey, Bob, bring us another beer," you know. Bring us another round of beer. So I'd get up and wait on them, give them their beer and everything. And I thought it was very, very, I didn't think that way at the time, but now that I look back at it, not many people would let you stand there and wait and collect money like that in between shifts. But they were convinced that, you know, whatever I took in, they were going to get. And I didn't drink, you know, I never have been one to drink hardly ever. And so I'd sit there and serve them beer, and get them more Parker House rolls, get them whatever they wanted, you know, to eat or drink there and charge them for it. So I got to know Andy real well, and I'd meet him on campus and say, "Hey, Bob, how you doing? We'll get down there tomorrow if we can," or something, you know. So I talked to him a great deal while they were in the restaurant, and I talked to him on campus. and that was before he made the record. What it was football, and then that was after he made that record, which that record was produced by Orville Campbell.
Let's see if this is for us or for the business. Hood TV. Oh, just discussing the situation. We've already done a kind of an eulogy to Andy Griffith. What are you doing?
Well, you should be doing
a eulogy.
Yeah, to Corey. Because she died too.
Who? Oh, I know who I'm talking to now. Yeah, you bury that old cat?
Yeah.
Okay. We're having watermelon out the goats tomorrow if you want some.
You don't have watermelon out at the goal.
Yeah, if you want some.
How come you're going to have it out at the goal?
You have watermelon left.
You got one there. Well, we can have watermelon somewhere else. Are you coming?
Tomorrow?
Well, yeah.
I didn't plan on it.
Okay, then.
Right?
I'll have a whole lot of watermelon.
Okay.
If you ain't got that cat buried, I'll even dig a hole.
Well, I asked my neighbor next door, and she helped me dig a hole, and we got a little funeral.
How old was that cat?
She was probably close to 20 years.
How?
20-year-old cat. Been blind and deaf and ill-tempered for a long time. That'll get to you after a while, being blind and deaf.
My daughter has one right over here right now that's 19 years old.
Well, that was 20.
Yeah.
And they may have been cousins or something.
Could have been.
Well, I've got one to replace her with.
That's all right. You've already given me one.
And I'm going to give you one also.
Yeah, you're going to be cat wealthy.
That's okay, guys. That's okay.
So,
Thank you so much.
So what else is happening?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Absolutely nothing. Well, I think one death in the day or is enough.
Well, yeah, it's always better to be a cat than an ain't or something, unless it's a rich ain't.
I guess so.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you got something you want to get rid of.
You know how to get rid of them, don't you? Take them out to Ronnie's place and teach them how to swim in a tow sack.
Yeah. Give them some of that there wine that's been shot up with strychnine.
I don't think you should put strychnine in your wine. I think that's very dangerous.
Well, you know, when your neighbor's Jack Kevorkian, you're going to have to be real careful.
That's true.
Of course, Jack's no longer with us.
Right.
Yep. Somebody helped him cross over.
Yeah, I guess he got a little help. I don't know.
So what are you two guys doing?
Well, we're here discussing politics. Are you going to go down to the assembly at Jacksboro on September the 10th if they don't move the football and tell them you want to pay more taxes?
You betcha.
Well,
That's my life's dream, to pay more taxes.
We need more.
I bet they switch the time.
I bet they do too.
They'll switch the time just to keep us people from coming.
You know, Lucy used to pull the football away from Charlie Brown every time he got ready to kick it. County commission will move the football if they think there's going to be somebody there to kick it.
They've been known to do that, haven't they?
They certainly have. And I predict they'll try that this time. But we'll be there anyway.
We're going to hunt. We're going to follow them to the ends of the earth.
Be sure and mark your calendar for September the 10th. That is the workshop. That's when we actually get to talk down at the county commission with permission.
Well, I'm going to go mark it on my calendar right now. I'm going to circle it and star it and mark it with a dot.
You do that.
I'll do that.
What was that thing that you found on that catalog? Was that a pencil sharpener?
Yes, that's supposed to be a teacher's dream pencil sharpener.
What does it do? Tape up the youngin's mouth?
It doesn't tear up.
Doesn't tear up.
Yes, and it will only sharpen the pencil until it's sharpened, and then it won't sharpen anymore.
That must be one of them Westing, Maytag pencil sharpeners.
I don't know, but if it works, I'm willing to put some cash down to get one because they just don't make pencils like they used to.
I know. They don't.
Sharpening pencils drives me crazy.
I used to.
You give them a new pencil and they can have it sharpened down to the eraser.
Yeah.
In half a day.
If you sharpen an eraser, you can erase them little bitty mistakes.
Well, they just, I don't know. Pencils just seem to be a better quality when I was younger.
Well, that's been a long time ago.
What's your mouth? What do you mean it was a long time ago?
That's been 15 to 20 years.
Well, maybe.
That's not long.
You want to buy a Cadillac?
No.
Got an excellent Cadillac for sale.
How's that one out there? What's the one for?
Well, it's negotiable, but it ain't negotiable below $1,500.
No, I'm not a Cadillac kind of gal.
No, you're more of a Maserati. What is it? Miata, yeah, one of them kind of women.
Well, a pink Cadillac, I can get into having a
Do you sell that pink furniture? Do you sell that pink furniture?
Yeah.
Oh, you can sell anything.
I'll tell you what, just had them over there fighting over it.
Well, we paint some.
Huh?
We'll paint some. I went up there and I'm looking at it, and this woman found out she was there gardening it, so somebody else come back and got it. And I about said something.
I had 4 people up there at one time trying to get that.
I about throwed off on that pink furniture before I found out she'd wanted it. I wouldn't put that in my house.
Well,
as a gift.
Well, let me tell you about the pink furniture. After I get off this phone here, I know who it is. Hello?
Talk to us.
Hello?
Well, I don't really have anything to say.
Yeah.
Nothing much must be going on.
Yeah. Okay then. Maybe you ought to just pack up your watermelon knife and come on out. But since you ain't coming, I guess I'll have to play by myself.
Well, I'll see if I can find my watermelon knife.
Me and Kramer's going to resurrect some jet skis tomorrow, I think.
I don't have
Mabel? You're going to resurrect Mabel?
I think he might bring Mabel tomorrow.
Well, what about the other one?
Well, we're supposed to drag it out and replace its problem parts and put it back in.
Okay. Well, let me talk at you later.
Okay, see you. Hello.
Yeah, folks, we're back on the beam again. I appreciate you listening in on some of our conversations here.
Yeah.
I feel real blessed that I was able to make the acquaintance of Andy Griffin. He was a good guy. He was just a country boy.
Till after the fourth.
Of course, he started drinking the Kool-Aid and went liberal and started wanting to do all these things that Obama's doing.
Yeah, and I had some money.
That's what happens when you
I had some money, and
that's what happens when you are so well blessed that you have more than you know what to do with, and you think everybody other than you should be giving it to people who are less fortunate than they are. Now, one thing I can say, not necessarily just for Andy Griffin, it does not maybe apply to him as much as some of the others.
They was open. I went down there.
But these entertainers and actors
I think they closed.
Will stage all these benefits
the money in the window.
For the poor, for the hungry, for the disabled, for all these different organizations.
That's okay.
But if you notice, they don't ever give any of their money.
Be a star. I'll see you.
No. And they might stage a benefit for a worthy organization, but the entertainers and the actors and everything, they never give any of their own money. And they expect all the poor people to give their money for these different causes, and nobody's going to get any of theirs. Did he talk you into it?
No, I didn't have nothing for him to talk me out of it.
That's right. That's what I told him on me, too.
Yeah.
Have to be careful.
That's a bothering you.
Have to be careful with the
I
him,
know.
you know. Well,
I'd like to
we're
run
getting
in.
our wires untangled here.
Well, I reckon we ought to tell them about our sponsors.
We've got some good ones.
I reckon we have. Let's tell them about Dixie Concrete.
We got some good ones. And Dixie Concrete's the one, we were talking the other night about them going into these big blocks of concrete that will stop a
Ford truck.
I know some hauling a big load out of those things. Too big. I saw them go out twice today with two big loads. So they're doing real good on something that was, it was going to be just a sideline, for excess concrete. But
I reckon they have trouble keeping up with demand. They got some outfit up there, and I think Kentucky come down here and buys them with a semi-load.
Right.
If you need some barricade material, maybe you're going to host the president for supper, have a fundraiser amongst your friends, and Secret Service needs something to stop them there runaway cars and them there intruders. What you need to do is go down there to, how'd you manage to do that anyway? Go down there to Dixie Concrete and get you some of them big old chunks of concrete. And they got a whole sorts of other stuff to do with concrete too. And septic systems, they got all that stuff.
Yeah, they do.
They just about like Napa Auto Parts as far as that goes. Napa has got parts for anything.
They have? I went up and bought some parts from my RV yesterday. I had those too, and it's not just automobiles, but you can get anything you want. I got to go up tomorrow. I'm going to finally get me some brakes on my little truck, so I'll be up.
You need to get you some safety chains for your trailer.
I need
562-9406.
I need some heavy duty ones. Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Something like log chains.
Yeah, I got some. I got some to tear the whole rear and out front of that truck if it comes off again.
Well, you need it, because, man, set the road on fire in this kind of weather, might get persecuted.
Right.
Don't go to Colorado. 562-9406 if you need some information from Napa
Auto Parts. And they got specials on oil changes. You can get 5 quarts of premium motor oil plus a filter you fit your car for $17.99.
Now, if you like this show really good, want to watch it again, it'll be saved. You can look at it again. You can tell your friends about it and bring them. Let them hear about it. Watch it after they hear about it from you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
TV is a growing concern. What we need is an incubator.
Well, we need to do one of the incubation loans.
Why don't we go down there and incubate? I don't want a loan. I want a grant.
I think so. Really.
How do we get signed up to get incubated?
Yeah, I don't know.
This could turn into a major business. We could bring fame from. World fame.
Fame and fortune.
Yeah. They got one guy they helping go in the bee business, and that's
sure.
That's an
I wonder how much he got per honeybee.
I don't know. I want to get signed up in that there incubator though. Any of you incubator folks happen to be watching, just mention their name. Well, maybe you better not tell them who we are.
I may want to go into duck business.
Hawk Albright and another fella one time, they got drunk. And they was over around the Sharp graveyard, lost in the woods, trying to find their way home. So I don't remember the other guy's name. I think his name was Albert. Anyway, Albert decided they ought to pray. And Hawk said, okay, we'll pray. So they got down on their knees and they're holding their hats in their hand, and Albert says, Lord, this is Hawk and Albert, and we're lost. Well, Hawk just stood up and slapped him with his hat. And Albert said, well, what'd you do that for? He said, he done told him who we are. So if you don't tell them who we are down at the incubator, we might be able to
might be able to get incubated. Yeah, you can't never tell.
And you know, you got any doobers?
Yeah.
You got any doobers out there?
I got 7 baby ducks.
Well, we take them down to the incubator
Right, yeah,
too.
take them down, parade them through there, you know. And,
We can open up a hotel.
Yeah, is that right?
Everybody come watch the ducks every day. Is it geese or ducks that they've got? Is it geese or ducks they've got at the Peabody?
I'm not sure.
Swans, maybe.
Probably.
If you get hungry, they don't cook swans down at the Rainbow Restaurant, but they've got some real good breakfast.
Right, I know that, and they got some good chicken sandwiches, too.
I never had a chicken sandwich.
Chicken biscuits.
I didn't know they had that.
That right, delicious.
Well, it'd be hard to beat bologna biscuits.
Well,
They're right up above the speed hump dip down there.
Right.
And you telling me they got chicken biscuits?
Yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. Hardy stole their grits.
Yeah, they did. Hardy stole their deal on the grits sausage.
Yeah, it ain't nothing but fair for Rainbow to get the biscuit, chicken biscuit.
Hardy uses that old instant grits, you know.
Probably use old instant chicken too.
Yeah, and probably no, don't use chicken. Use they use this old sausage that looks like it's imitation sausage, and it may very well be.
Well, sausage is not one of my favorite foods. I think it's all imitation food.
Right.
Not that I don't like sausage, but I get sick by every time I eat sausage.
But you need to go on down to Rainbow Restaurant. I see their business increase when times get harder.
Well, I have been informed that there are ducks at the Peabody.
That what? Ducks.
Ducks at the Peabody. Thank you, Jerry. I thought it was ducks, but I wasn't sure. I never could stay in them ritzy places. I always had to stay at the V8 hotel or something.
You know, while we're talking about ducks are probably the most versatile animal in the world.
The cockroaches got them beat.
I'm talking about
two-legged
of the vertebrae.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about the invertebrate.
They're exoskeleton.
Ducks are found on practically every continent. I don't know whether a penguin is a duck or not.
I don't know, but in some commercials, some global warming, this global warming is getting bad too.
Right.
In some global warming circles, they've got them at the North Pole.
Well, what, penguins?
Yeah.
Well, I just wonder if they had ducks at the South Pole, because you can find them on practically every continent in the world. And there's cold weather, warm weather, doesn't make any difference. Wet weather, they do good, or dry weather, they do good.
Yeah, they make a mud hole in concrete.
Yeah, is that right? So ducks are very versatile. I'm just like a duck. If it don't rain, I'll walk. If it don't rain, I'll walk.
Yeah, you quack. I have noticed also this hot weather has some effect on propane purchasers. They don't realize that there's a summer version that's available.
Right.
They can run a propane refrigerator on
right.
it. You can even run a propane air conditioner on it if you've got one.
Can.
You can run all sorts of camping equipment. You could probably get fixed up to run your motorboat on it.
I bet you all those people up there around Washington, D.C.
would like
are
to
really appreciating all that solar energy they got that will not run an air conditioner. It will not run a refrigerator. The dry ice company there has gone completely kablooey because they got no power to make dry ice.
How do you make dry ice?
I don't know.
How do you pour it out and get it to freeze?
I don't know. They can do something to what is it? It's a chlorine type thing, isn't it? I don't know what it is.
No, it's CO2.
Is it?
Frozen carbon dioxide.
Okay.
That's why when it melts. Did you hear about that guy out in Nashville? He had his cooler went down.
Had what?
His cooler went down, and he put dry ice in it to save his food. It was after closing time, and he was there working, and he went in and he locked himself in the cooler and couldn't get out. and suffocate it. It's a dry
because of the dry ice. Yeah. Yeah, we do that. Yeah.
Well, I have to recommend Digger 5625444 right in the middle of the road in Sawmill Holler for all your propane needs.
You don't have to worry about losing your food in a refrigerator or in a freezer. There are plenty of propane-powered refrigerators and freezers and air conditioners on the market. Now, the only problem you have with air conditioning is that the fan will have to run off of electricity.
Well, you might want to do this. You might want to get you a propane hookup for your generator.
Well, yeah.
And that way you can have a little propane, turn it on there, and run your generator, and it'll light up the whole house.
Right, it'll do that.
Sometimes it'll light up real good. I've got a little problem out at my house. I've got a tree across my electric wire. It's laying in the yard. Got to work on that. I was going to start on it tomorrow, but everything closed tomorrow.
Right.
Still got juice.
Huh?
Still got juice.
Have you?
Yeah. I did have this morning, I reckon to do. If you folks get to needing any heavy hauling, I'd like to recommend that there Ridge Runner Trucking Outfit, 871-2410. Yeah, 871-2410.
Just go ahead and call Mike down there at Ridge Runner Trucking Company. He can deliver whatever you need, and he can put it where you want it in the weight you want it, whether it be gravel, whether it be mulch, or whether it be compost, topsoil.
He'll go get you a truckload of that compost, and you can even raise stuff in it in weather like this.
Right. You can do that.
You know, I put out over in one part of my garden, I put out just trying to kind of not do too much this year, and I put some mushmelons and some watermelons and some squash.
Right.
Then over the other part, I put some tomatoes and some cucumbers. Well, them tomatoes and cucumbers wasn't getting no water, and I started watering them, and now they kind of look like they might live, but I ain't got no tomatoes and hadn't got any cucumbers. Well, Tommy come in last weekend before last, and she was talking about my cucumbers looking so pretty down there, blooming everywhere. And I said, them ain't cucumbers, them's cantaloupes. I ain't planting no cucumbers over there. So she said, they look like cucumbers to me. You know, she's just a kid. She don't know that.
Right.
So they come home for the weekend, and she went out there and come in with an armload of cucumbers.
The cantaloupe bag.
Yeah, they'd volunteered to come up from last year. They was doing well. I had plenty of cucumbers, and now I'm talking, she's talking about making some pickles. I hadn't had a cucumber all year, and they're just laying there. Some of them got too big to use.
Right.
Of course, they ain't got a real good flavor. They're kind of strong because they ain't had no water.
You know, I've been dealing in a little bit of produce, mainly watermelons and cantaloupes, but going through the different markets that I went to, I checked a couple of them out in North Carolina, a couple of them out, 1 or 2 in South Carolina, 1 or 2 in Georgia, before I went on down to Cordell, Georgia. And there is really a shortage of real good tomatoes.
I'd say so.
There is.
They claim they ain't nothing to work in Granger County too. Of course, their tomatoes ain't no count.
I don't like them.
They good to play ball with.
Yeah, they got
a
good hard core. They got a good hard core in the middle, you know.
They ship good and stay pretty.
Yeah, but
they practically
I don't especially care to eat them. But when I go back, I'm gonna have to be back down in North Carolina on the 10th, and sometime before then, I'm gonna leave and try to pick up some good tomatoes and maybe some other produce that we're a little bit short of around here. I noticed your tomatoes in the store are running about $1.65 a pound.
I hear they're going to start taxing people who don't eat broccoli. You might want to get some of that.
Oh yeah. And you know, there's a lot of things they can tax you for now. If you don't do them, they can make you do them.
Yeah, we've been had.
Right. Well, I think Justice Roberts, was hanging around with the wrong people.
Hanging out with a bad crowd, ain't he?
Hanging out with the liberal crowd. And he probably would not, if he had ruled the other way, he probably would not been invited to a lot of those social affairs that he's getting to go to now.
Well, let me lay something on you. Back in 1776, and it was only a minority of the people. Most of them were unconcerned and apathetic like
About
they are now.
30%.
But they decided that they were being treated so badly by their government that they started a secession movement and they ended up in the armed revolution. I contend that our government is much more oppressive now than it was
I
then.
think so. I think we're being oppressed a lot more than King George was
I'm
in the
not
colonies.
trying to incite any riots or anything, but another thing you got to think about is back then, if you didn't like the way things were going in Philadelphia or New York, if you didn't like the way things were going in Boston, you could come to Tennessee. You could go a little further west. You had to
Right.
fight a few Indians occasionally,
Right.
but you were left alone. You ain't nowhere to go now.
No.
You can't get through the day without violating some law.
I noticed when I moved up here, and I did not move up here for this particular reason, but there was no insurance requirement when I moved up here. I had insurance.
On what, your car?
First, huh?
On your car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no insurance
Yeah.
requirement.
There was, but they didn't enforce it. I mean, if you had a wreck without insurance, they wrote you up, but you didn't have to prove you had
No, when
insurance.
I first come up here,
Yeah,
you didn't have to have insurance.
you did too. You just didn't know it.
Yeah.
TV. Hello? Uh-huh. I don't know. They must have changed my number. Yeah, what can I tell you about it? It's not mine, but it's for sale. He wants $1,500, bottom dollar. Okay. Good car. Anybody wants to buy a Cadillac?
Well, the first thing that happened when I got up here, I was crossing the White Bridge out there, and I got hit head on by an uninsured driver, which I had insurance, and my uninsured motorist paid for it.
Well, do you know what happened to him?
I know what happened to him. He took his license, and he eventually paid. He paid it back because I got my $100 deductible back from him.
They took his license because he didn't have insurance. He broke the law.
Right.
Well, it was the law that he's supposed to have it.
Right.
But they didn't enforce it. You didn't have to have proof of insurance when they pulled you over. The only thing, if you wrecked, you better have insurance.
Right.
Now, there's a feller hit me back in '82, and I know he's been driving since then, but I had a $250 deductible, and I never have got my $250 back. I don't know what he went through to get his license, but I never did get my $250.
Yeah, but did you have uninsured motorist $250 deductible, or you had collision insurance $250 deductible?
It fixed my car.
I know that, but it could be fixed from two different type of coverage. One, uninsured motorist coverage, or if you had physical damage insurance on your vehicle.
Well, I had comprehensive. What's that mean?
Well, that's physical damage.
Well,
and you had collision, $250 deductible collision.
Well, I had $250 on getting my car fixed.
Yeah, I say $250 deductible on your collision insurance. You would not get your deductible back if you filed under your physical damage insurance. The only way you get it back is if you filed under uninsured
Well, now, wait
motorist.
a minute. If he goes and pays the state the money to go back to the insurance company that they spent, I'm supposed to get my $250.
No, but we'll see what happened on that. I believe I'm correct. You filed a claim against your insurance company and your physical damage insurance. They are under no obligation to subjugate on that guy, to collect from him. They pay you out of their collision portion, and they never go against him like you would if you filed under uninsured motorist.
Well, they did too. They made him, the only way he could get his license back was pay the insurance company.
How do you know that?
That's what he told me. He wanted me to take $250 and let him sign off and get his insurance. And I said, no, you go pay the insurance company first.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, the state either did not collect for the insurance company or they did, and I never did get my part.
Probably never collected. He probably hadn't had no license since then.
May not.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
The old boy is working on my lawnmowers down here. Called him for 7 times DUI.
Yeah. That ain't good. If you get to needing hauled to the hospital, you need to call Vital Care of Campbell County.
562-9370.
That's where they're at.
And I've been seeing their ambulances out right much. You know, they're having to fill in a lot of slack from our county ambulance service. And of course, the only good thing about it, every time Vital Care goes out, there's no cost to the county.
I know it.
And because they make their own way, a good company, privately owned, over 40 years experience in the ambulance business, and you just can't beat them for tender loving care. That's 562-9370. That's Vital Care. And good people, good equipment, and they'll look after you right. Just Vital Care.
There is a thing developing in Jacksboro. They say that everybody's moving out of their offices down at the courthouse. I think we mentioned this before, but my understanding is they're going to have a vacant building down there. We're going to have to tear it down or go down and steal the copper out of it. I mean, it wasn't good enough to put a voting machine in. Store them. It wasn't good enough for the school department. It wasn't good enough for the incubator people. So they shouldn't care for us going down camping out or something.
No.
Having a hot dog fry or something.
Yeah.
Roast.
Yeah, that's a thought, you know.
I got to get in on that incubator. We need to check on that. Have you considered your approaching your attorney yet?
I was going to today, and I just got so tied up I didn't get a chance to, but I'll probably be up there tomorrow.
He's closed tomorrow.
Huh? I mean, the day after tomorrow, then, if he gets back off of vacation.
I would like to recommend to you people to be careful and don't shoot all your firecrackers at the same time, because it ain't fun that way. We went down to the Fire on the Water firecracker shooting there at Sequoia, down there, as seen from Galt's Gulch Saturday night. It's a pretty good show.
Right. They're shooting them out in the lake.
Yeah.
They didn't catch the lake. It wasn't so dry the lake caught on fire, was it?
No, it wasn't like some people. They didn't set nothing on fire. Don't reckon. They called off the Frolic fireworks, postponed it for rainy weather. Of course, it rained today.
Right.
I bet you could go out there and stir dust right now. It rained a pretty good while, but
Yeah, it did.
the ground was thirsty.
Right. Well, fireworks have always been kind of traditional. We used to order them because they haven't produced any in North Carolina in a long time, so we would order our firecrackers, but it was legal to shoot them. And even though you couldn't sell them in North Carolina, it was legal to shoot them. Now they've made it illegal to shoot fireworks individually.
Well, back when I was a kid, it wasn't legal. You couldn't buy fireworks in Tennessee legal. And then it got so, I believe you could buy them over in, down around Lenore City. I guess that's Loudoun County. I don't know how that worked out. But when I was a kid, you couldn't buy firecrackers. And when they had the bicentennial celebration, they passed some special law in Nashville to allow the fireworks people to sell fireworks that 1 year.
Right.
And that's what they said, they're going to sell them that 1 year for the bicentennial. Then after that, they've had them every year. You can buy them. I don't understand that. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, but still, it was supposed to be for 1 year, and now they have them every year, and that's all right. I think there's a lot of things that's illegal to buy that y'all be able to buy if you want to.
The fireworks can be dangerous. I
reckon they can, but you know, and more people get killed with cars than they do with fireworks.
Old boy by the name of Howard Marr, he liked to pull jokes on everybody, but he could not stand too many being pulled back against him.
That happens sometimes.
So he was throwing little old firecrackers at these young boys' feet, and one of them just walked up there behind him and dropped a cherry bomb in his back pocket.
Oh! I bet that hurt.
That broke Howard Marr from moving with firecrackers. He had to go to the emergency room. He had pretty good burns on his rump. He had a big old pair of bib overalls on, big old wide pockets, just dropped in the back pocket.
Well, them there cherry bombs used to have a whole lot of umph to them.
Yeah, they had a bunch of umph to them there.
We used to take them M80s, and if you take the end out of them, they was a third full. You know, it's about that long, but there was only a third full of powder.
Right.
And you could take the ends out of two more and fill it up and put the end back in
Right.
it. And then you had to tamp it in with tinfoil and get
Right.
it good and tight or just
Right.
blow out. And you could light it. Now you could get a boom out of the
I
three of them.
guarantee you that.
But it would hold, it was just made exactly to hold three.
Right.
The 3 times the powder that they
Right.
put in it. And boy, you could unroll a can in just a minute. We used to buy these here.
We did a bunch like that, and I'm right to admit that we did some destructive things. We would go down to Gibsonville Road out of where I live, and we'd blow a few mailboxes off the.
I never did tear up anybody's mailbox. I think y'all would be shot for tearing up mailboxes unless it's yours.
You throw a supercharged EM80 in that mailbox, it won't blow it off the post.
Yeah, I know. I've had to buy some. But they used to, I don't know whether they still make it or not, but they used to make a shoe shine and call it Kit in a Can.
Right.
And what it was a little bottom here, a little black metal can full of shoe polish. Then there was a brown lid that went down and fit tight on it.
Right.
Well, when you took the lid off, there was a thing in there that had a sponge on the end of it and a little handle, and you could rub that there shoe polish on that sponge and polish your shoes.
Right.
Well, we found out that you could take that there little black bottom after the shoe polish was gone. We had to shine a lot of shoes to run out of shoe polish. And we'd shine till we'd run out. But you'd take that and you'd set it down on the ground, and you could put your firecracker in there down in the bottom and let the fuse stick up the side. Then you take that there sponge thing and turn it upside down, put the sponge up. If it was still, you could tear it off the way if you wanted to. But you had that can there, and you had that other can set down there, the firecracker between.
Right.
You could light that firecracker, and that sucker would go way up yonder. And we really had fun with that.
Did you ever make a bazooka to shoot lighter fluid?
No.
You can take, we used to take and tape
deodorant
aluminum cans together and make our tube and put your little hole in there for your light to be, and you put some lighter fluid down in the bottom and put your Miller Pony beer down that chute and light that thing goes.
Well, now you was off low to be shooting Miller Pony beer, because they didn't come out till about 73 or
What's
4.
that?
Miller Pony.
I don't remember when they come out.
They come out in 1973.
Well, probably in about 60s, 70s before we learned how to make those things.
Well, no,
I wasn't no kid.
No, you wasn't no kid.
I wasn't no kid then.
But now, we used to make firecracker guns, and you could take a piece of galvanized half-inch water pipe, and I'd saw me out of stock and put me a little back, and saw me a notch in the wood, and it'd be sticking up like that behind,
Right.
you know. And then you lay that pipe on there and put you a clamp in the middle of it, a water clamp.
Right.
And you could swivel that barrel out that
Right.
way. Then we sawed a notch in the barrel.
Right.
Then we put a firecracker in that sucker.
Right.
And you could take a marble and it'd roll right down that barrel. We'd wrap it in a piece of paper so it wouldn't roll back out, put it down there and light that sucker. Now it would do some shooting.
Yeah.
You could have killed a squirrel with it if you'd have hit it. But you couldn't ever aim it too good, because you was always dodging that spark coming from the fuse. It's like an old matchlock gun, you know. You'd light it and you'd wait a minute before it ever fire. We're going to have to go, Bob.
Yeah, it's getting about that time.
Thank you, folks. We'll be on again tomorrow night.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on Channel 12 as well as back on Oak TV tomorrow night.
Yep.
8 o'clock.
Yep, 8 o'clock. Don't forget us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, folks.
Let's see now. I've got to stop recording.